Today we're going to talk about starting up your Mikro Air Jet Sieve Model X2 for the first time. Turn the power on. The software will go through its startup sequence. As it goes through its startup sequence, you'll see various screens that give you an indication the software is properly loading. We have already connected a mouse, which is completely permissible, and we have connected an external keyboard. The external keyboard, however, takes precedent over the internal software keyboard. After the software has completely loaded, we will see the start screen in the advanced mode. This is the advanced mode startup. Once the software has fully loaded, the sign-on screen will be displayed. You will see also in the upper left-hand corner the USB identification, and it will identify the specific USB. You will also see in the right-hand corner balance identification. Now, to log in for the first time, we must enter in the provided username, which is admin. Press the green arrow and then follow ADMIN for the password, and then press sign in. Software will prompt you, and it's asking you to re-enter the password. Do that once again. ADMIN. ADMIN. Once that has been entered, press OK, and the software will immediately go to the actual pages for sieving, reports, and settings. I cannot stress this enough. I highly recommend going to the settings page, going to more, and this is only accessible when you're an admin, and then going to users. Now what we might want to do is we might want to modify a user. Only admins have accessibility to the settings page. So as you can see here, admin is the only acceptable sign-on when you're first starting the unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit. We first highlight it, now edit. This is, you must be very careful with this, because number one, as an admin, you have complete access to the entire software that can be changed. So what we'll do is we'll now enter in once again. We're going to use admin again. And it asks to confirm it. Now, you can change the language to any of the acceptable languages here: English, Spanish, Dutch, French, German, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, and Latin American Spanish. We're going to keep it in English, and we're going to apply that. Oops, here we just apply that. Now, this is the critical. If you forget and you leave this on test user, because as I mentioned, only administrators have full right access to this settings page. Because if you enter in power user, which only has the ability to create recipes, and or test user, which only has the ability to run pre-existing recipes, you will lock yourself out and will not be able to enter in any additional users. Okay, so we're going to submit that. Yes, let's submit that. And notice now it's been successfully modified. Okay, now as an administrator, you also have the ability to enter in, but notice the default is test user. This is where the problem could be created in such that you can lock yourself out of the software. but we're not going to make any changes at this moment because the process is basically the same as I just went through. Now, we kept it at English, but that was for the operator. The system language in this case here is also English. Now, why would anybody change the system language versus the operator language? In some instances, you may have a situation where the operator is primarily fluent in Spanish. Well, in that case, then the user language would be changed to Spanish. The system language would stay at English because the administrator may prefer to speak English. So those are two critical areas that you would want to take and be concerned with. The time. At this point, we can list the time. So what we'll do is we'll do America and let's see, you should be able to have anything with America in the first name or in the first category will be listed. Brazil, they're all considered because it's part of the Americas. North America, South America, it's all grouped as one. Okay, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's not by time zone, so please do not become overwhelmed by it. And here's New York, and then we apply it. All right, and then you double check your time. The time is correct. We acknowledge and press OK. Timestamp. Timestamp is typically used when you're printing your analysis. These are the various formats. I'm not going to change any at this moment, but you notice there are quite a variety of formats here. Basic mode. Basic mode will convert the instrument to the basic mode. If you are not in if an advanced model or advanced mode was not purchased at that point, then we would switch to basic mode. And notice, it's asking you to confirm. I'm going to cancel because I want to talk more about the settings. The backup and retrieve. This is where it enables you to back up tests that have been performed and then by means of a USB also to retrieve. So backup, it asks me down to identify the USB, and it will also ask me to name the file of the backup. So let's just do this just so you can see that. Oh, I got to highlight, of course. Next. Now here's where we create the name. Once the name is created, a backup will be made. There are no tests on this machine because it's brand new. So we're going to exit out of that. Retrieve, again, identify, and we'll go to next. And notice there's nothing there, so that's the error message you'll get. So we'll cancel that out. Okay. Back. Printers. We'll talk about printers in a different session here. Update. This will tell you what your current software version is. Logs. If for whatever reason you're concerned or you're required to be able to identify and track transaction logs and test logs, this is the area that you do that. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but I'll show you the screen, which is similar in both cases. It asks you to identify a specific date range. At this moment, we have no tests on here, so we're not even going to identify that at this point. Factory settings. Unless you are an administrator, you do not have access to the factory settings. Factory settings have been predominantly set at the factory. That's, of course, the name. And it's not recommended to make any of the changes. What we'd like to show you, however, is that the vacuum pressure, we want to be able to identify the speed of that valve so that when the operator or power user or administrator elects to have a vacuum pressure of 12 inches or a vacuum pressure of 10 inches, the valve, by means of proximity switches, magnet, will go ahead and adjust the speed accordingly. In the event that you have an error, the error log can be saved to the USB stick by simply pressing, okay? And then there is no error on here at this point, but it's identifying the fact that the error log was created. If an error log was created, we may ask you here at the factory to email us that file so that we can identify in the software where the error has occurred. On this page also you have the opportunity to set the clock. In this case here, it's done by military time. And you notice the date range, so it's the year, the month, the day, and then we can scroll up or down to change the time and then apply the time. Test the wand speed. The wand speed is set at the factory for 18 RPM approximately. The boost speed is set for approximately 20% more. So in this case it's about 22 RPM. The reason why one would use the boost is because the material agglomerates easily, or there are existing agglomerates that need to be broken up. The boost speed and the test speed itself are adjustable in the process of preparing a recipe. We'll talk about that when we get to the recipe page. So I'm going to exit out of this. Alright, so let's go back to the main page here in the settings, because once you hit exit it takes you completely out. You have the log on button, you have the recipe button, you also have the Wi-Fi button. If for any reason any of these are unchecked, the login will not require someone to log in. Recipes will not indicate or show recipes, and Wi-Fi removes the ability to print via Wi-Fi. This is printing via Wi-Fi. Where you also have in settings the ability to change the values of the pressure indication or pressure readings. So you've got inch water, Pascal, inch mercury, millimeters mercury, inch mercury, and PSI. Unfortunately, grams are grams, that's all we have. But also on this page, you can see you show the MAC number of the unit. This is the MAC number assigned to the computer. We are not connected by means of Wi-Fi. We have not ticked the Wi-Fi. Once we tick the Wi-Fi, it will then search for available Wi-Fi connections. As you can see here, we have the Hosokawa Micron Powder Systems guest Wi-Fi available. I'll click on that. Please be very cautious. In this case, we show an American flag. Why? Because the keyboard is set up for English. Now the keyboard is set for Japanese. Now the keyboard is set for Chinese. Next is Korean, then Hindi, then Russian, and then back to the US. Now that the password has been entered, press the green arrow to proceed, and then connect. It will search, it will confirm the password, and if I did something wrong, it will give me an error message. If I did something correct, then it will take approximately 2 minutes. Okay, and now we are successfully connected to the HMPS guest Wi-Fi. Notice the IP address of the unit is displayed. There are other ways that you can connect to a Wi-Fi, and that is hardwired through the Cat5 connection located on the back of the unit. However, in doing so, because it's not an open Wi-Fi or an open internet connection or an open network connection, it may require the approval of the local IT officer to be able to connect to that, or at least connect this machine. All right, so we'll exit out of this. Well, many reasons why you would connect to a network is because you will then search for printers on that specific network. Or via Wi-Fi, as I mentioned before, printing is performed via Wi-Fi. Log out. Log out, quite frankly, is who's ever logged in can log out at this point and then allow the next person to log in.